Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at the weather next week to 10 days in today's video. Starting off quite cold, but it is going to turn a bit milder at the end of the week and into the weekend. We always expect it, but the middle part of November probably see something a bit milder come through, but then maybe going cold into the second half of the month. So we'll have a look at weather next week to 10 days. In today's video. At the end of the video, we'll have a look at December, something a little bit interesting to begin to happen with CFSV2 for its December forecast, so we'll check that out at the end of the video. And starting off just with a bit of a discussion about what's coming up tomorrow and on Tuesday night into Wednesday, because we have got the risk of some snow, particularly for the northern part of the country, and particularly, not exclusively though, over high ground, and it might be enough actually to start getting snow watch going tonight. So I think I'll do a quick snow watch update this evening, but I'll just talk you through what's happening in a second. Before I go on with that though, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all of the pages. Have a browse to widgets and click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, your Help Us Page website, thanks so much for doing that. Gav Shop is open for business, so if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, all you have to do is click the green button that says Gav Shop first of all, and then from there when you get to Gav Shop, you just go through the Amazon banners. That's the key to the whole thing. Go through the Amazon banners, takes you to Amazon, where you just do your Christmas shopping as normal. You don't have to do anything differently at all. It's just purely the fact that you click from Gav's Worthies to Amazon, which means we get a revenue fee on the Christmas presents that you purchase. Thanks very much for doing that. It does help to pay for this website. And happy Christmas shopping. So we'll start off with the facts chart from the UK Met Office. This is for midnight on Wednesday. It does set the scene of what's going on. We've got high pressure over Scandinavia, and that's the wedge of cold air that we are currently under. It's much colder than we are right now. It's pretty cold out there right now, but if you go to Scandinavia, it's much, much colder there, with a lot of snow and real deep cold across many northern and eastern parts of Scandinavia, in particular, in complete contrast to this time last year. So we've got that wedge of cold air over Scandinavia, and then we've got these weather fronts moving in off the Atlantic, and these fronts are coming up against that block of cold air, and they are stalling. They're struggling to get across, which means they're going to be bringing heavy rain to many parts of the country, but as that rain engages with the cold air, it's probably going to be cold enough to produce quite a bit of snow across parts of the country. That's going to be particularly for Northern England, Scotland, and particularly on the higher ground, but there could be some coming down to lower levels as well. And as I said at the start of the video, I think we're going to update Snow Watch tonight for the first time this year. Very early to do that. We don't normally, or over the past 2 or 3 winters, we haven't really updated Snow Watch before Christmas, but I think we're going to have an early Snow Watch this evening. So if you live in the north, it might be worth checking back to see what's going on in terms of this snow risk tomorrow, and it'll be particularly later tomorrow and then through Tuesday night. Has been a cold start to November so far. This is the central England temperature from Hadley. This is provisional up to yesterday, 6th of November. We currently stand at 6.5 degrees, which is around 1.5 degrees below average. That's set against 61 to 1990, which is the old and cold temperature average, encompassing that really cold decade of the 1960s. If we was to set this against a more modern average, such as 81 to 2010, the anomaly would probably be even greater. It would be getting on for a couple of degrees colder than average. It's early days this month. We are going to see moderation of these cold conditions at the end of the week into the weekend. I think it'll turn a bit milder. But we predicted, when we did the November month-ahead forecast last week, that it's likely to come out cold on average. I am still seeing that coming through. I think we will have our second colder than average month this year. The other cold and average month, of course, being April, this month up here, which came out at 7.5, an anomaly of around half a degree colder than average. So I think we're on course for our second colder than average month of the year. But it is early days, and it will only take some warmer weather to scupper that. So let's wait and see where that's going. As I say, temperatures will be picking up later this week, and these are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average in terms of the upper air temperatures anyway, so significantly cold on average right now. Generally staying cooler than average into the weekend. Also up to the weekend anyway. Not as cold as we've got it right now. It's going to be really cold tonight, by the way. Temperature's going to be going down possibly in some rural areas in the north as low as -5 or even -6 degrees. That's very, very cold for early November. It won't be as cold as that through the rest of the week. Temperatures do pick up, but still generally coming out below average up to weekend. However, over weekend inside of next week, it looks like we get a milder phase coming through there. And after that, there's no sign, particularly from GFS ensembles, that we are going back into particularly cold weather. And that takes us into the second half of the month, actually, the second half of the month just here. But I think overall, we probably will turn it cooler again in the second half of November. That's what I'm expecting anyway. Now, perhaps more dramatically than the temperatures over the next week or so, it's going to be the rainfall. It's been a really dry autumn. September was very dry outside of localised thundery downpours triggered by the very excessive heat. And October, very dry month as well, something like the driest since 1972. So it looks like we're going into a much more unsettled phase now, though. We've got these rainfall spikes just here associated with the wet weather that's coming in tomorrow and through into Wednesday. Of course, that gives risk of snow over northern hills across the northern part of the country anyway. And then after that, well, not too much more rainfall through Thursday and Friday. There will be showery bursts, but not too wet. Then over weekend into next week, quite a lot of rainfall spikes coming through there. So it does look much more unsettled over the next week or two, I think, with maybe some quite heavy rain at times. Temperature anomalies coming out cold and average for next week. This is going from the 7th through to 15th of November. Really cold across Scandinavia. As I said, they are having a very, very cold spell at the moment. That does extend down into much of central, eastern, northeastern Europe as well. The real mild conditions are actually in the southeast of Europe, around the Black Sea, towards southern parts of Russia, and then going down in towards Greece and Turkey. That's where it's significantly milder than average. And most parts of Europe, particularly to the north and west, coming out colder than average for the next week. The precipitation anomaly looks very dry for Scandinavia. For us, it's near normal to a bit wetter than average. So it is going to be turning more and south, I think, over the coming week or so. This is the GFS chart for Thursday then. This is midnight on Thursday. There's the weather system that's going to bring the rain slash snow risk Tuesday into Wednesday. It's still struggling to clear the east coast. Actually at midnight on Thursday. It'll be mostly rain by that point, but it just shows you the struggle this system is having to get across the country with this large wedge of cold air and the Scandinavian high that's in up to the northeast. However, that moves across and then we go through into Friday and we're back into westerly flow, albeit it's not overly mild flow at all. Actually, it's quite chilly with the wind still generally coming from the northwest. That looks showery. We move through to Saturday, another weather system coming in off the Atlantic. This is bringing further outbreaks of rain and probably a milder pusher there. Actually, to start the weekend, it could turn quite mild, especially so in the south. But these are strong winds, tightly packed ice bars, so won't feel overly mild. And then, again, that system is stalling. Look what happens from Saturday, where we've got the area of low pressure just there, and the weather front is just there at midnight on Saturday, to midnight on Sunday. We find that, again, there's a stall has taken place of that system, and the front is doing something like that. It is clearing the country, but once again, it tells you the atmosphere is not really behaving as it would normally do so at this time of year. We've got all of the cold air in over Scandinavia with high pressure. The systems are coming up against that block of cold air and then doing something like that, stalling down to the south. And that is unusual for November. If you get that in sort of March, okay, that's fairly typical of conditions you get late winter, early spring. But when the jet stream is starting to weaken, of course. But at this time of year, November, the jet stream should just about be at its strongest of the year. So to be seeing the jet stream and these areas of low pressure struggling so much against this cold air and blocking over Scandinavia is really very unusual. Anyway, that's what takes us into the start of next week. After that system goes away, we get a build of high pressure. So that probably brings frost and fog for the early part of next week. And then into Tuesday, that high pressure beginning to slip to the south, allowing milder winds to return from the top to the northern part of the country. So middle part of next week probably turns more unsettled and milder. Remember, we always expected a milder phase through the middle of November. I think we do get that coming through from the weekend into next week, albeit Monday and into Tuesday might have some frost and fog and high pressure. Generally, it does look a milder phase through the middle part of November. However, we go up to day 10, which is Thursday, 17th of November, and signs up we're beginning to turn the winds into the northwest again, beginning to start to drag cooler air out of Scandinavia. And beyond that, the latest, or the earlier run of the GFS's midnight run of the GFS starts to produce Atlantic ridging and eventually Greenland blocking, which begins to force much colder air back in from the north into the second half of the month. So we go up towards Monday the 21st of November, a long way out. We have got a proper blocking feature back in over Greenland. Winds are back into the north. That's colder air coming down across the country we have right now, probably producing a risk of wintry conditions. So we get this milder period around the middle of November, but the idea is still for the second half of the month, but it might start to get cold again. ECWF looking like this for Thursday. Again, struggling to clear that front away from the eastern side of the country. It does go away, but it's never all that far from the east coast, even into Friday on the ECM. Then into Saturday, we bring the next weather system through. That brings wet weather Saturday, some quite heavy rain is possible there. Again, that low pressure is stalling as it comes up against this block of high pressure over Scandinavia. There's where the front is lying, midnight into Sunday. So there could be a lot of rain, actually, over weekend as this front comes up against the high pressure and stalls. Eastern parts of the country could have quite a lot of rain Saturday into Sunday, a bit of a soaker possible then. After that, high pressure ridging through the country, so same idea as the GFS. Monday, Tuesday, I think we go into a drier, but probably quite frosty and potentially foggy spell through the early part of next week, before the westerlies start to topple back in around top of that high pressure. It turns milder middle of next week, but by the time we get through to day 10, which is Thursday 17th of November, we're back into cooler, even colder northwesterly winds. If we went beyond this, would be ECWF set up a block over Greenland into the second half of November as the GFS does. It's difficult to say, but certainly it is moving towards that sort of direction. So yes, I think we're going to get this milder period around the middle of November, which was anticipated, but I've got a feeling the second half of November is likely to get quite cold again. Just finally, the CFS V2 for December. Now, when we did the November month-end forecast last week, I had a bit of a sneak peek at the end of that forecast, what CFS V2 was predicting for December. This was the kind of chart we was looking at, with high pressure down to the south and low pressure up to the north and bringing westerly, southwesterly through. So it looked typically fairly mild and fairly dry for the south, but more unsettled up to the north and west. Notice up here there is yellow to the far north of Russia, north of Scandinavia, very limited northern blocking being signalled up there. Over the past week there has been a bit of a shift taking place from the CFS V2, so this is the very latest 700 millibar height anomaly for December. Notice the ridging to the south is weakening a lot. There is still the signal for slightly above average heights around the Mediterranean, but it's a much, much weaker signal now. We've got this trough of low pressure out to west, which looks quite unsettled. But perhaps more interestingly is a big increase in pressure across Scandinavia. Now we have orange colours appearing to the north of Scandinavia. Those above average heights are pulling down into Scandinavia itself. So at the moment this is looking like a bit of a battle really, with low pressure trying to bring milder air in off the Atlantic and the high pressure over Scandinavia trying to bring cold air across Europe. However, because the model is shifting and it's raising the heights to the north of Scandinavia. I think we've got to watch out for the chance of another cold month in December with high pressure over Scandinavia, possibly giving us quite a cold start to the winter. It'll be interesting to see over the next few days, next couple of weeks, how much further the CFS goes with this. But potentially, I think it is shifting its ideas of a mild start to the winter and possibly moving to something colder. So I'll keep you posted on that. Come back to next week to 10 days. So we're starting cold now. Going to be snow in the north tomorrow and tomorrow night into early hours of Wednesday. We'll update Snowwatch on that in a bit. It'll be this evening. And then we go through into the end of the week, keeping it quite cool. Not as cold as it is now, but quite cool to the end of the week. Briefly milder to start the weekend, and then we probably go into something a little bit colder and frostier, foggier for the start of next week, before a milder spell takes us into the middle part of November. After that, I'm watching out to see if we turn it colder again in the second half of the month. So all in all, very interesting conditions and a huge contrast to what we had this time last year when we was beginning to ramp up the exceptional warmth that gave us the warmest December on record. I don't think we're going to be getting that this year. So come back later on for Snowwatch. That'll be around 7 o'clock this evening. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.